In the class, yes, the portrait of LD. All probable question answer. ଆମର ସିରିଜ୍ ଚାଲିଛି ପିଲେ ଆମେ ଅଲରେଡ଼ି ଦୁଇଟା ଚାପ୍ଟର ପଢ଼ି ସାରିଛେ ଆଜି ଏଇଟା 3 ନମ୍ବର ଚାପ୍ଟର ମୁଁ ତୁମକୁ ଯେମିତି କହିଛି କି ଆଇ ୱିଲ୍ କମ୍ପ୍ଲିଟ୍ ଦ କୋର୍ସ ତୁମକୁ ଇଂଲିଶର ସବୁ ଚାପ୍ଟରର probable question and answer ଆମେ ଡିସ୍କସନ୍ କରିକି କମ୍ପ୍ଲିଟ୍ କରିଦେବା ଲାଇଭ୍ ସେସନ୍ରେ କାରଣ ବହି ଦେଖିକି ପଢ଼େଇ ଦେବା ବହି ଦେଖେଇକିରି ମାନେ କହିଦେବା ଆନ୍ସର ଲେଖା ହେଇଥିବ ତାକୁ ଡିସ୍କସନ୍ କରିଦେବା ଆଉ ବୁଝେଇ ଦେବା ଦୁଇଟା ଅଲଗା ଅଲଗା ଜିନିଷ ତ ଏଇ ସେସନ୍ରେ ଆମେ ସ୍ପେଶାଲି ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ପର୍ଟିକୁଲାର ଥିଙ୍ଗ ମାନେ ଦ ପୋର୍ଟ୍ରେଟ୍ ଅଫ୍ ଲେଡିର ଚାରିଟା ପାଖାପାଖି ଚାରିଟା ପେସେଜକୁ ଡିଟେଲ୍ସରେ ଆଲୋଚନା କରିବା ପ୍ରଶ୍ନକୁ ବୁଝିବା ଏବଂ ଉତ୍ତରକୁ ବି ବୁଝିବା ପିଲେ କାରଣ ଆମକୁ ଲେଖିବା ପାଇଁ ସହଜ ହେବ ଯଦି ଆମେ କିୱାର୍ଡ଼ ଗୁଡ଼ାକ ଜାଣିଥିବା ପିଲେ ନାଇଁ ତାହେଲେ ପ୍ରଥମ ପ୍ରଶ୍ନ ପିଲେ ପ୍ରଥମ ପ୍ରଶ୍ନ ହେଉଛି what kind of a person did the grandfather appear in his portrait? ଗ୍ରାଣ୍ଡଫାଦର ନିଜର ତାଙ୍କର ଯେଉଁ ଛବି ଥିଲା ସେଇ ଛବିରେ କେଉଁ ଭଳିଆ ଦେଖାଯାଉଥିଲେ କିୱାର୍ଡ଼ କେବଳ ଲେଖିଲେ ବି ହେବ ପିଲେ ମୁଁ ତୁମକୁ ଯେମିତି ସବୁ କ୍ଲାସ୍ରେ କହେ କାରଣ ଲଙ୍ଗ ଆନ୍ସର ଏଇଟା ସବୁ ଲଙ୍ଗ ଆନ୍ସର ସବୁ ଆମେ ତ ଟାଇପ୍ କରିପାରିବା ନାହିଁ ଦୁଇ ଧାଡ଼ି ଟାଇପ୍ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଅସୁବିଧା ହେବ ତ କିୱାର୍ଡ଼ ତ ଏଠି କ'ଣ ଲେଖା ହେଇଛି ହ୍ୱାଟ୍ କାଇଣ୍ଡ ଅଫ୍ ପର୍ସନ ଡିଡ୍ ଦ ଗ୍ରାଣ୍ଡଫାଦର ଆପିୟର ଇନ୍ ହିଜ୍ ପର୍ଟ୍ରେଟ୍ ପର୍ଟ୍ରେଟ୍ରେ କିଭଳି ଦେଖାଯାଉଥିଲେ ପ୍ରଥମ କିୱାର୍ଡ଼ ହେଉଛି ହି ୱାଜ୍ ଲୁକିଂ ଆଟଲିଷ୍ଟ 100 years old କ'ଣ कम से कम 100 ବର୍ଷର ଜଣେ ବୁଢ଼ା ଭଳିଆ ଦେଖାଯାଉଥିଲେ and he wore a big turban and loose fitting clothes and his white beard covered the best part of his chest. He was looking a sort of a person who had only what grandchildren ନାଇଁ so these are the keywords ଏଇ ସବୁ ଜିନିଷ ହେଉଛି keywords ଯାହାକୁ ନେଇକି ଆମେ ଲେଖିପାରିବା ପରବର୍ତ୍ତୀ ପ୍ରଶ୍ନ ଦେଖିବା ପିଲେ परवर्त प्रश्न होची क्वेश्चन नंबर 2 व्हाट वाज एब्सर्ड एंड अनडिग्निफाइड अबाउट द ग्रैंडमदर जेजेमा का पार्ट रे जेजेमा कोन एब्सर्ड एंड अनडिग्निफाइड माने ताकू शूट न कला भलिया कथा कहउतले जेजेमा तांकर जे थिले अथनकर जेजेमा से कोन माने ए भलिया कथा कहउतले जोरा कि तांकू माने तांको व्यक्तित्व को देखिले पर्सनालिटी को देखिले सेरा तांकू माने फिट होनतला शूट करू नथिला ताले ठीक उत्तर कौन हम कीवर्ड मुझे कहूँ कीवर्ड कौन हम द गेम सी यूज टू प्ले कौन द गेम सी यूज टू प्ले एज ए चाइल्ड was just looked like absurd and undignified. It was just like the the story of prophets. माने धर्मीय भावना धर्मीय गल्प भाया लगुला ए तो परवर्ती प्रश्न क्वेश्चन नंबर 3 कौन थिला दैट वाज हार्ड टू बिलीव व्हाट वाज हार्ड फॉर द राइटर टू बिलीव एठी जो लिखा है दैट वाज हार्ड टू बिलीव एक कथा विश्वास करबा टिके कष्ट थिला एठी को जिंस को लिखा जाई छी दैट वाज हार्ड टू बिलीव बोली कि बिले को जिंस को लिखा जाई छी कहबा हां कीवर्ड शी वाज यंग एंड प्रेटी ब्रह्मर टोल्ड या वेरी गुड शी वाज young and pretty. So people said, exactly the answer would be, people said that the grandmother had once been young and pretty. No, the grandmother had once been young and pretty, and it was hard to believe because he had been, he had seen him for the last 20 years, and she was looking like as she was. She was too terribly, she was too old that she was not growing old. से अब बुढ़ी हो नथला एते बुढ़ी हेतला जे से बुढ़ी हेउ नथिला तो से सब प्रश्न 4 नंबर प्रश्न हाउ डिड द ग्रैंडफादर लुक इन हिज पोर्ट्रेट हाउ डिड द ग्रैंडफादर लुक इन हिज पोर्ट्रेट प्रथम प्रश्न थिला व्हाट काइंड ऑफ पर्सन डिड द ग्रैंडफादर अपीयर इन हिज पोर्ट्रेट नाउ द क्वेश्चन इज how did the grandfather look in his portrait? So same answer would be there. He looked as if he was 100 years old, at least 100 years old. He wore loose fitting clothes, big turban and loose fitting clothes, and his long white beard covered the best part of his chest. He was looking a sort of person who had no wife or children. he must have lots and lots of grandchildren. ये थिला तमर स्टोरी शेष प्रश्न प्रथम पैसेज रो शेष प्रश्नटी होची कि एवली हाउ डज द राइटर डिस्क्राइब हिज ग्रैंडमदर हाउ डज द राइटर डिस्क्राइब हिज ग्रैंडमदर तांका जेजेमा को किभली डिस्क्राइब करछन्ते राइटर हाउ डज द राइटर डिस्क्राइब हिज ग्रैंडमदर के परवर्ती प्रश्न होची हाउ डज द राइटर डिस्क्राइब हिज ग्रैंडमदर तांका जेजेमा को किभली डिस्क्राइब करिसंती ओके सो पिले एथरे माने दुईटा वर्ड हमको माने शॉर्ट एंड फेट एंड स्लाइटली बेंट नहीं दिस इज द लाइन वी हैव टू रिमेंबर शी वाज शॉर्ट एंड फेट एंड स्लाइटली बेंट her face was a crisscross of wrinkles her face was a crisscross of wrinkles running from everywhere to everywhere yes or no and she was so old that she could not have grown older से एते बुढ़ी हे देइथिला जे से आ बुढ़ी हेउ नथिला परवर्ती प्रश्न देखिबा बिले परवर्ती पैसेज देखिबा सॉरी परवर्ती पैसेज होउची परवर्ती पैसेज रो क्वेश्चन होउची व्हाई वाज द राइटर श्योर ऑफ हिज ग्रैंडमदर टू बी डिसअपॉइंटेड व्हाई वाज द राइटर श्योर ऑफ हिज ग्रैंडमदर टू बी डिसअपॉइंटेड एटा केते बेलर कथा पिले जेते बेले राइटर जाउचंती कोठी की अब्रॉड विदेश को शॉर्ट एंड और फेस वेरी रिंकल सूर्य स्मिता कुंडा तो प्रश्नटी कौन थिला प्रश्न होउची यस एग्जैक्टली व्हाई वाज द राइटर श्योर ऑफ हिज ग्रैंडमदर टू बी डिसअपॉइंटेड काहे कि से डिसअपॉइंटेड होबो बोली कि श्योर थिले एटा होची प्रश्न व्हाई ही वाज वेरी श्योर दैट हिज ग्रैंडमदर will be disappointed. The ठीक उत्तर होची because the grandmother was sure that the writer was sure that his grandmother would be disappointed because he was going abroad and at her age one could not tell किछि भी हेई पारे anything could happen कि भी कहि जाय परिबो नै so that's why से निश्चित थिले कि तांको जेजेमा दुखी हबो किंतु से बळी किछि हेई नथिला एक्जेक्टली परवर्ती प्रश्न when did the writer come back home and what was his feeling नहीं प्रश्नटी थिला when did the writer come back home and what was his feeling I normally don't answer other questions in my classes Mr. Sunil please do remember I don't answer the questions in my classes within the class no bagwas class भितर bagwas नहीं अलगा कथा किछि नहीं क्लास भीतर क्लास कहले पाठ होले के पाठ सो व्हेन डिड द राइटर कम बैक होम एंड व्हाट वाज हिज फीलिंग केते बेले फेरिले एवं तांगर फीलिंग कोन थिला द राइटर केम होम आफ्टर 5 इयर्स एंड टू हिज अटर सरप्राइज द ग्रैंडमदर वाज स्टैंडिंग एट द स्टेशन देयर वाज नो चेंज शी वाज एज शी वाज से जेमति थिला सेमति थिला कोनोसी परिवर्तन हे नथिला ता भितर नारी बेले जो परवर्ती प्रश्न भितर को 3 नंबर प्रश्न बट दैट वाज नॉट सो that here what does that refers to question number 3 so what is the question there question also but that was not so so when the author was just getting ready to go for abroad at that time he thought rather that his grandmother would be disappointed and she would show some emotional things so etc but this doesn't happen but this doesn't happen so this refers to the possible last sign of physical contact between the writer and his grandmother एटी कौन से पॉसिबल लास्ट साइन तांकर जो शेष स्पर्श थिला जहाको से शेष स्पर्श बोली कि भाबुथिले से शेष स्पर्श विषय रे दिसटा व्यवहार कराइछि किंतु सेंति हेई नथिला क्वेश्चन नंबर 4 पिले गिव a pen picture of the happiest moment of the writer's grandmother on the first day of the writer's arrival from abroad राइटर जेते बेले प्रथम दिन विदेश रु फेरिले सेही समय रे जेजेमार अवस्था की परिथिला ताहा उपरे आलोकपात कर प्रश्नटी होउची आउतरे गिव ए पेन पिक्चर ऑफ द हैप्पीएस्ट मोमेंट ऑफ द राइटर्स ग्रैंडमदर ऑन द फर्स्ट डे ऑफ द राइटर्स अराइवल फ्रॉम अब्रॉड कौन थिला तार कंडीशन किभल थिला हाउ वाज सी एग्जैक्टली ताले कौन थिला बिले on the first day of the writer's arrival the happiest moment for the grandmother was that same day no change was there कौन प्रकार परिवर्तन ता भीतर नथिला her happiest moment was with the bird she did not look a day older Mona Lisa तो ता भीतर कौन भी परिवर्तन होता माने नाती आसी एत दूर से दिन से माने सब कम दाम छाड़ी नाती पाखे बसवा कथा नातीर हलचल पचार कथा बट सेमती किसी नाला से दिन भी तार से खुशी मुहूर्तटा से घर छटिया मान जो कहूला सी वाज वेरी हैप्पी द सेम थिंग वाज देयर नहीं रे पिले where and the midst of the sparrows and when it fed longer with the frivolous what rebuke से दिन माने मीठा मीठा गाली देकी से बहुत समय धरिकी घर छोटिया मान को खुएला से दिन बहुत टाइम स्पेंड कला से छोटिया मान को घर छोटिया मान को सहित शेष प्रश्न पैसेज नंबर 2 रो शेष प्रश्न 10 नंबर प्रश्न रहा what change did he mark in our behavior on his return from abroad हाँ तो ये कौन अच्छी बिले what change did he mark in our behavior on his return from abroad जेते बेले से आसिले कौन विदेश रु फेरिले जेते बेले जसवंत सिंह विदेश रु फेरी चंदी सेही समय जेजेमार रिएक्शन कौन थिला ता भीतर कौन परिवर्तन हेइथिला बिले what change कौन परिवर्तन हला on that particular day she did not pray she forgot her rosary we know I mean janichu that she was always busy in telling her rosary telling the bits of rosary but on that particular day when the author arrived she didn't do that exactly and for the first day in his life the writer saw that the grandmother was not praying se dina prarthana karu notila se au kon kala got a dilapidated drums called the neighborhood women and started dancing and singing the song of homecoming of warriors योद्धा मानकर घर बाहुड़ा जो गीत से पाखर स्त्री मान को डाकिला गोटे फटा ढोल आनिला बजेकी गाइला एवं नाचिला टू and the family members were utterly disappointed at her reaction that change तापर जीवा बिले ये थिला तमरो कोन 2 नंबर पैसेज वर्तमान जीवा हमें 3 नंबर पैसेज को 3 नंबर पैसेज होची प्रथम क्वेश्चन माय ग्रैंडमदर एंड आई वर गुड फ्रेंड्स व्हाई डज द राइटर से सो मो जेजेमा ओ मु आमे दी जण भल बंधु थिलु ए कथा काहे कि खुशवंत सिंह कहछन्ते माय ग्रैंडमदर एंड आई वर गुड फ्रेंड्स व्हाई डज द राइटर से शो oh the writer said so because she was staying with her grandmother he was staying with her grandmother when his parents left him with the grandmother and went to the city and the grandmother was the lady who was taking care of the writer as a friend that's why he has told so परवर्ती प्रश्न question number 2 when and why did the grandmother say her morning prayer when and why केबे ओ काहे के केते बेले ओ काहे के ग्रैंडमदर तार मॉर्निंग प्रेयर कहउथला केते बेले ओ काहे के दुईटा प्रश्न दुईटा वाक्य उत्तर दबा बेले yes मेरा हाँ ऑल कॉलेज प्रैक्टिकल I did a long question, take. So don't, inside the class, don't ask such type of question. I don't have time to answer such type of question inside the class. Getting me? This is the class, and within the class, if I ask such type of question, I'll answer such type of question. What should I teach? That's right. So, prashno dithila, when and why did the grandmother say a morning prayer? Kette bele, au kebe au kette bele. Kipori, sorry, kahiki au kette bele. कहीं केतबेले से तार सकाळर प्रार्थना गाउतला सो व्हेन द राइटर शी वाज गेटिंग बाथ द राइटर व्हेन शी वाज गेटिंग बाथ द राइटर एट द टाइम शी वाज सिंगिंग द मोनोटोनस सिंगशन इन अ मोनोटोनस सिंगशन द मॉर्निंग प्रेयर in the sense or in the hope that the author would listen it and learn it by heart एई आशा रे गाउतला कि माने जसवंत सिंह से गीत को शुणी कि मन रखिए ता भितर ये भावनाटा थिला जीवा परवर्ती प्रश्न तो जो गाधौला से गाऊला आउ ए आशा गाऊला कि नाती से गीतटा शुणी सुखी परवर्ती प्रश्न क्वेश्चन नंबर 3 व्हाट डिड द राइटर ब्रेकफास्ट कंप्राइजेस ऑफ ऑथर का ब्रेकफास्ट कौन कौन थिला व्हाट यू वाज ईटिंग इन हिज ब्रेकफास्ट एग्जैक्टली से कौन खाऊले ब्रेकफास्ट कौन खाऊले बोले ब्रेकफास्ट रे ऑथर जसवंत सिंह कौन खाऊले keyword I want to stale chapati smart sono very good okay so he was eating stale chapati with a little butter spread on it and a little sugar कित टिके बटर लागुथला तापर किसी सुगर पडुथला नहीं that much bread and butter Suryasmita Kunda smart sono stale chapati yes you are correct more correct so exactly the writer breakfast comprises thick stale chapati with a little butter and sugar spread over it with a little butter and sugar spread over it and thick stale chapati mota mota roti परवर्ती प्रश्न क्वेश्चन नंबर 4 why did the writer's grandmother accompany him to school why did the writer's grandmother accompany him to school काहे कि खुशवंत सिंह को जेजेमा तांको सहित काहे कि स्कूल को जाउथिले निकिता दानसेना स्टेल चपाती यस बेटा यू करेक्ट तो मोर परवर्ती प्रश्न होची परवर्ती प्रश्नटी होची जे काहे कि जेजेमा ऑथर को सहित मंदिर को जाउथले व्हाई व्हाट द रीजन बहुत सहज आंसर बहुत सहज आंसर किए लिखियो आंसर देखा जाओ so the answer I don't have enough time to wait for your answer because the temple was beside the school Brahman told here very good nicely answer beta so exactly the answer would be the grandmother accompanied to the writer to the school because the school was attached to the temple exactly the school was inside the temple stale chapati with a little butter and sugar and ice so Smita because there was a temple near the school no exactly not beta the temple was attached the school was attached to the temple or you can say the school was inside the temple exactly that's why अच्छा शेष प्रश्न देखिबा पिले शेष प्रश्न होची व्हाट पिक्चर ऑफ द राइटर्स ग्रैंडमदर डू यू गेट इन द एक्सट्रैक्ट टू जेजे मानकर कोन छवि तमे पाउछो जो प्रथम तमरा यूनिट अछि यूनिट 1 ए यूनिट 1 रो तमे कोन पाउछो व्हाट पिक्चर आर यू गेटिंग देयर सेठु कोन मिलछि तुमको व्हाट पिक्चर ऑफ द राइटर ग्रैंडमदर डू यू गेट इन द एक्सट्रैक्ट which type of lady or what is your idea your opinion about the grandmother you must try it here yes or no tare kon hobo pile answer an ideal grandmother Brahmara an ideal grandmother yeah can't say the answer is wrong still the answer is good okay that means the grandmother was active caring and religious the from the past passage it is very clear that the grandmother though she was old and wrinkled she was active caring and religious active caring and religious these three words we have to remember जीवा शेष पैसेज पे शेष पैसेज यही माने हमर जो द पोर्ट्रेट ऑफ लेडी रो शेष पैसेज 4 नंबर पैसेज मोस्ट प्रोबेबल पैसेज आलोचना करिबा शेष पैसेज होची व्हाट द ग्रैंडमदर एप्लिकेटेड विथ व्हाट इज द डॉक्टर ऑफ फाइन लास्ट यूनिट शेष यूनिट रे जो अछि जेतबेले से मरि जाईची से नाची जी तापर ताको ज्वर होईची तापर से मरि जाईची तापर घरचाटिया माने आसंदे कांदी चंदी सब उठाईची ए जो स्टोरीटा थिला ए पैसेज शी इज अ रिलीजियस लेडी इट्स मोनोस ओके तो प्रश्न होची व्हाट वाज द ग्रैंडमदर्स एफ्लिक्टेड विथ कहले कोन पिले एफ्लिक्टेड विथ कहले कहा द्वारा आक्रांत हला एफ्लिक्टेड विथ व्हाट वाज द ग्रैंडमदर एफ्लिक्टेड विथ एंड व्हाट डिड द डॉक्टर ऑपाइन ताको कोन हैला एवं डॉक्टर कोन कहले एग्जैक्टली प्लीज आंसर आई एम वेटिंग फॉर योर आंसर गाइस what was the grandmother afflicted with and what did the doctor find? The grandmother afflicted with mild fever. Nine keyword hochi mild fever. The grandmother afflicted with mild fever and the doctor exactly find that it would go away. It would go away. ଛାଡ଼ିଯିବ ଡାକ୍ତର କ'ଣ କହିଲେ ସାମାନ୍ୟ ଜ୍ୱର ହେଇଛି ଆଉ ଏଇଟା ଛାଡ଼ିଯିବ ବୋଲି କହିଲେ ନାଇଁ ରେ ପରବର୍ତ୍ତୀ ପ୍ରଶ୍ନ but she ignored our protest scored the lines to justify this fact she ignored our protest but she ignored our protest ये जो लाइन को जस्टिफाई कोड द लाइन्स टू जस्टिफाई दिस फैक्ट ए फैक्ट को जस्टिफाई करबा पई लाइन ता लेख बोली कि कहा जाय छै कोन थिला बट सी इग्नोर्ड आवर प्रोटेस्ट आमे जतल विरोध कलु हम विरोधर कथा से सुनिला नाही ताहले एठी कोन होबा पिले को लाइन ता हमको कोट करबार अछि सी ले पीसफुली इन बेड praying and telling the beads of a rosary. So this is the appropriate line. Kona? She lays peacefully in bed, praying and telling the beads of her rosary. This is the line that quotes exactly, but she ignored our protest. She did not listen us, did not leave our beads and rosary, and she was marched in prayer. Getting me? 3 number question number 3 last passage the portrait of a lady ro probable passage विषय में आलोचना कर पिले so how does the writer describe the last moment of his grandmother how did the writer describe the last moment of his grandmother तांका जेजेमांकर last समय टाकू किभली वर्णना करछंती how did the writer describe the last moment of his grandmother So how did the writer describe the last moment of his grandmother? What are the keywords, guys? Exactly. In a dying moments, the grandmother was not interested to fritter away her time by talking to the family members. She was not interested to talk with anyone and don't want to waste time exactly. She lay peacefully on the bed, telling the beads of a rosary, and by the way, all of a sudden, her lips closed and the rosary fell down from her lifeless finger when the author and his family members came to know that she was dead. This is Moriage. 4 number question. Question number 4. Shesho passage 4 number question. How did the sparrows react to the grandmother's death? How did the sparrows react to the grandmother's death? जेजेमार मृत्यु को नहीं कि घर चटिया माने किभली रिएक्ट कले हाउ डिड द स्पैरो रिएक्ट द ग्रैंडमदर्स डेथ हाउ डिड द स्पैरो रिएक्ट टू द ग्रैंडमदर्स डेथ कौन कले पिले से माने कहिबा शॉर्टकट रे कहि परिबा जदी कहि परिबा हमें So when the writer and his family members went to, lift up, they were silent, okay. Lift up the carcass of the grandmother, what was lying there in the veranda. At that time they saw that thousands of sparrows, they were sitting silently, there was no chirruping. There was no chirruping as they are mourning the death of the grandma. And being sorrowful towards their action, the mother of the house brought what? A chapati, bread crumb rather, bread, and make it into piece of crumbs and threw them. But they didn't notice at all. किंतु से नोटिस भी कले नहीं कौन है जितेबाला मैंने शब को उठेवा जाते देखी हजार हजार घर चटिया से माने चुपचाप बस कौन शब्द करूना से माँ दुखी होती रुटी आनी जेजेमा जो टुकड़ा टुकड़ा करके दियंती से भाई टुकड़ा टुकड़ा करके दिखाई जो छोटिया मैंने जेजेमा देला बेले खुशी खाऊले से नोटिस भी करना से रुटी को देखी भी नहांते रे पे एठी माने गोटे क्रिएचर बर्ड्स मानकर फीलिंग टुवर्ड्स ह्यूमन बीइंग माने एठी एनालिसिस करा जाय छै पिले आज शेष प्रश्न देखा शेष प्रश्न लास्ट क्वेश्चन How did the family members feel for the words? How did the family members feel for the words? पक्षी मानक पाई किभली अनुभव करुथिले कोन फीलिंग थिला तांका मन रे How did the family members feel for the word? they are they are sorrowful. नहीं, they are the family members felt sorry for the words. Simple. The family member felt sorry for the words who never left the company of the grandmother. Who never left the company of the grandmother. ଯେଉଁମାନେ ଜେଜେମାର ମାନେ ସାଙ୍ଗ କେବେ ବି ଛାଡ଼ି ନଥିଲେ, ମାନେ ମଲା ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ସେମାନେ ମାନେ ତାଙ୍କ ଭିତରେ ଇମୋସନ୍ ନାହିଁ, ଫିଲିଂ ନାହିଁ, ତଥାପି ସେମାନେ ମଲା ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ଜେଜେମାର ସାଙ୍ଗ ଛାଡ଼ି ନଥିଲେ। ତ ଆଜି ପାଇଁ ଏତିକିରେ ପିଲେ, ପୁଣି ଦେଖା ହେବ ଆସନ୍ତାକାଲି ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ନୂଆ ଚାପ୍ଟର ସହିତ, ନୂଆ ଚାପ୍ଟରର ପ୍ୟାସେଜ ସହିତ। ପ୍ୟାସେଜଟାକୁ ପୁରା ଭଲସେ ବୁଝିବା, ପ୍ରଶ୍ନ ଉତ୍ତରକୁ ଭଲସେ ଜାଣିବା। That's all. Stay in Master English. Bye. God bless you.